I see a lot of parents get into conflicts with their kids because they think what's happening is that their kids won't do something, when in fact it's that their kids can't do something. And so the first thing that I invite parents to do when you're feeling frustrated and you're ready to lose it is ask yourself, is this a can't? Or is this a won't? Because the path that you take from there, it's going to be very different depending on what the answer to that question is. And, that happens. Your work is all around nutrition and kids. And so this can happen a lot around mealtime. I'm sure you've experienced so often many situations where it's not that the kid won't do it, it's that they can't do it. And so I actually have a situation with a mom I'll call Lena. And what was happening for her related when she was trying to cook dinner, and she had her baby and her toddler, and they were unattended in the living room. So shall we hear, what conflict
I would
she?
love to. Yes, please.
Great. Okay, good.
Yesterday, they were playing together. I was cooking, and then I heard the baby cry. And when I came, she said, I didn't do anything. They all once said that. And then I asked the baby, and she pointed at her, and I said, did Valentina do something? And then she pointed at her head, and she had a big red mark on her forehead. So I knew she hit her with something because it was big enough for me to notice. At the end of the day, I'm exhausted, and I just want to give her a timeout and just be conventional and see if that works.
We can relate, right, Argavan?
Absolutely. I was nodding my head as I was listening to her speak.
Yeah, and because she wants to cook dinner, she wants ease, she wants so many things. So I wanted to work with her to see if we could come up with something different than a timeout. So what I applied is this method that I call the 4 C's of conflict prevention and repair. And the first C is to create space. And how do we do that without making the situation worse? Well, unfortunately, the reality is that when we're first learning new skills, it's pretty hard to keep our presence of mind. So that first C is aspirational. But in the case of me and Lena, the space had been created because here we were having a conversation a couple of days after what had happened. So the second C is about connecting with oneself. And so that's what I do in this next interaction that you're about to hear. I help Lena connect with what's important to her about what's going on in the situation.
Think about yesterday, your strategy that you are attached to, I'm going to give it words and you're going to correct me. The strategy that you're attached to is that you're able to cook dinner without having both children in the same room with you, and that your older one will not hit the younger one.
Yes.
Does that capture the strategy you're attached to?
Yes, so they're able to resolve conflict without having to, be aggressive towards each other.
Okay, right. And so that's a strategy that you're attached to. And the needs you're meeting with that strategy are you want basic functioning of the household, vital functions. You're trying to make dinner so that everyone can be fed. You want to have peace of mind so much. Are there any other needs that you're meeting through your attachment to that strategy? Do you think, is there anything else that's really important to you?
Yeah, no, I think that, you just capture them. I want them to be able to be with each other while I'm gone for a few minutes, and to be comfortable and to be respectful. Yes.
We know we're ready to move on to the third stage of this process if you're willing to consider other strategies besides the one you've come up with. Provided your needs get met, are you willing to consider other strategies?
Yes.
Okay, so Argavan, what I'd like to do is sort of break down what I was doing there so that your listeners can start understanding what this process is. Okay, and there are 2 concepts that are helpful in understanding this. So the first is the difference between strategies and needs. And what you heard was me identifying what strategy Lena, the mom, is attached to. She wants to be able to cook dinner and not need to be focused on her kids. But that's not the needs that she's trying to meet. She's trying to meet, has needs for ease and peace of mind. And this is a really important distinction because all of us humans, we all have needs. And these needs are never in conflict. We have needs, we have physical needs, we have needs for meaning, we have needs for power, and we have needs for contribution and connection. And so those beautiful needs, they're never in conflict. We get into conflict at the strategy level. So it's her strategy. She's wanting to cook dinner without one of her kids hitting the other one. And that's bumping into her older daughter's strategy of, well, I want to bonk my little sister on the head if she gets in my way. So that it's the strategies that are conflicting. It's not, the daughter's need for choice and power and autonomy and that things, that she's doing, she isn't messed with in those things. She gets to stay in her own flow. So those needs aren't in conflict. It's the strategies that they're using to meet those needs. And so, unfortunately, if we stay at the strategy level, we're all attached to our strategies for meeting our needs like a barnacle stuck to a boat.
Yes.
Okay? And so we've got Lena, the mom, so attached to that strategy of I'm going to cook that dinner and not supervise my kids. And the older one's not going to hit the little one. Okay. And so she wants her daughter to do that. And she's putting all her energy in trying to realize that strategy, get that strategy. And unfortunately, that just makes her daughter dig in more and stay attached to her own strategy. And now we're tugging at each other's barnacles and we're not actually doing any problem solving. So how do we actually resolve this peacefully? Well, what we're doing in that second C, connecting with ourself, is we're getting to what I call the field, which is based on the Rumi poem. Rumi was a Sufi mystic and poet. Yeah, and he said, out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I will meet you there. And when we get there, we let go of our strategies. It's all about our feelings and needs and the other person's feelings and needs. And that is this absolutely transcendent, magical place where there are so many more possibilities because we're not putting energy into good and bad and right and wrong. And so in the questions that I asked Lena, I was inviting her to come to the field with me. And you heard she got there.
Yes.
And we knew she got there because she was ready to release her attachment to the strategy that she had, provided her needs get met. And so the next step is to invite her child into the field with her. And for that, we did a role play. And so I become Lena in this situation, the mom, and she becomes her older daughter who hit her younger daughter. And so let's listen to what happens then.
Right.
Valentina, it seems like you're really mad at Vienna. Can you tell me why you're mad?
She destroyed the little house I made.
Of course you're mad that she destroyed the little house. If I was making something and someone destroyed that, I'd be mad too. I'd be so mad. There's difficulty, and I'm wondering actually if you can help me solve a problem. I'm cooking dinner and I'm not looking, and then Vienna does things that make you really, really mad. What could we do instead so that you don't get mad?
I don't know, I can yell at her or I don't know.
Yeah.
I just don't want Vienna to follow me. She follows me around all the time. I don't want her to follow me.
Pretty straightforward. There's lots of information here.
Yes.
Okay, and so now she is interested in co-creating a new strategy, and that's the fourth C, co-create a new strategy. So Arghavan, this is your area of expertise. I'll share with you in just a moment the new strategy we came up with, but I'm sure you've encountered situations like this with with the families you work with, right?
Absolutely. Yes. This is very classic. And this is one of those things where one parent is trying to engage with one child, the intention is there. and then something happens to disrupt it, and they just say, you know what, I shouldn't have done this in the first place. It's one step forward, three steps back.
And so in your practice, what have you recommended in this situation?
Yeah, so this is where, you have to meet families where they are. So it's one thing to just come up with ideas and generalize practical strategies, but when you're working with families, like again, if it's one mother, two children, you have to somehow, like it depends the age of the child and the situation. Does the mom have support? Is there someone that's able to be with one child while she works one-on-one with the other? Do you need to incorporate the other child into the recommendations that you make? Because sometimes that's just how real life is, right? So, for example, a lot of the work that I do is encouraging kids in the kitchen. So when you're including the little one, you're giving them some toys and some similar tools to work with so that they also feel incorporated, engaged while you're teaching the older one.
Exactly. I love that idea so much. So there are so many possibilities to bring both of them into the kitchen with you.
Yes.
And so I love that idea. And then here's the idea that we came up with.
I can just cook when they are asleep and leave the dinner or lunch or whatever ready the night before for the next day, or leave as much done the night before to do some food prep. That's doable.
This is a real question. Can that work for you? Do you think, is that sustainable for you? Or are you going to be ticked off about it?
I think that could work. I thought about it before and I did not try it because I thought that they should be able to play by themselves. And maybe that's a thought or a strategy, like you were calling it, that is the wrong strategy right now, because obviously they can't. And perhaps forcing something too soon.
Right. It's like if you were to ask me to run a 4-minute mile, like you could give me all the timeouts in the world, but I'm never going to be able to run a 4-minute mile. That's what you're asking right now of Valentina. And so one way to be aware of that it's going on is when you use the word should, maybe she should, it's what is the reality? You have all this data that she can't handle it. And so then to say, it's a can't, it's not a won't. I would always assume that she can't do it, not that she won't do it. And then we can be creative about, okay, so how can we change the situation so I'm not making her run a 4-minute mile.
Me again. If you enjoyed this video and would like to find out more about how to apply what I just discussed in your own family, you might want to get a free Conflict Prevention Jumpstart Kit. The details are in the description of this video. It includes strategies for turning every conflict into an opportunity for more trust and connection without giving up on anything that's important to you.